Hello, I'm Steve Ryder and welcome back to Racing Weekly, a podcast and YouTube show brought to you by oddschecker in association with Bet365. It's my great pleasure to be joined by two of my favourite faces in racing, Hayley Moore and Johnny Ward. And I promise I don't do this on purpose. Every time that Rishi's not here and I'm sat here, it seems to be these two alongside me. But yeah, this is going to be a great show. We're going to look at the King George card at Ascot later on, and we'll also review the action from the Irish Oaks card. Johnny, there's been a lot of chat in Ireland recently around the situation around where the Railway Stakes sits in the programme, moved from the Derby card to the Irish Oaks card. What is your thoughts on that, and I suppose the whole card as a whole?
The Derby was fascinating because it was a card with one Group 1 race. So one group race in all. So there were no other group races. And you do a bit of work for Racing TV now. You go to these race meetings, and the overlord is basically the person betting on the phone, and the person betting away from the racetrack. And in this instance, the Irish Derby card was a nod to people betting in Hong Kong to get the Toad Whirlpool. But you see the Curragh have had quite a lot of financial difficulties since the redevelopment. And this is probably logical enough why they've had financial difficulties. But when you can get $500,000 for putting on a Whirlpool, whereas the difference in gave receipts if you do a certain race card is almost nil, you're going to do that. Now the pattern is kind of slightly dictated by what goes on from a European level. But the Railway Stakes itself, if you look at the winners, say 20 odd years ago, when you proper like Guinea's horse or really good horses, the last 10 years it's not the race it used to be, and it wasn't a great renewal. I know we had a really good filly on Saturday. Andy Holding would say the figures weren't that great, but those in behind it, 3 horses in behind, it wasn't a great renewal. So I thought it was a fairly disappointing renewal of the Railway Stakes, but by and large, in fairness, it was a really good Oaks card, and the Curragh has been maligned an awful lot because a lot of money was spent on the redevelopment. The race track suffers because the train station doesn't stop there anymore. So you have to, if you drink, you can't drive, obviously. So I feel that's a big factor. It's one of the best. It's the best located racetrack in the country for a train. It just needs the train station brought back. Like genuinely, the train stops right outside. It just doesn't have a train station anymore. But it's on all of the lines to all of the major cities. And if you could make it as an excursion, because for me, the flat racing we have in Ireland at the moment is phenomenal. Like, it's a really exciting time. And Hayley's brother coming over, like, for even run-of-the-mill meetings, it adds so much to it. And Ryan is riding out of his skin. He's riding a lot of very good horse for Aidan. We'll even talk about the maiden on Saturday maybe. But I think we need to be more positive about flat racing in Ireland, but the Railway Stakes has probably gone down the pecking order a bit.
Go slightly off topic, but like, if the train doesn't stop there, do they do anything with regards to like buses?
Yeah,
from the centre?
So there's a shuttle bus from Kildare, but which is okay, but it's not the same as if you literally get to the train station. Yeah. You don't need to move all day. And the Curragh is on the Galway line, the Cork line, the Waterford line, the Dublin line, even the Kerry line, a transfer from Belfast. And it used to be, it's like you could get from Dublin to the Curragh in, say, half an hour. And like the inability to drink and have and drive home at the races, it inevitably affects, because it's a long day, a lot of 35-minute gaps to satisfy our overlords again. It's a long day. The Curragh is the only actual modern racetrack in Ireland. It's phenomenal. Like, it's really, really nice racetrack, and that's for me something I would really be pushing for. And I know Brian Kavanagh is in favour of that too. But they have made attempts to make it more popular with people. Like, we're struggling to get people racing in Ireland. More people will pay in to go to Laytown to watch slow horses on the beach than go to the Guineas. That's just how it is. Irish people want a day out more so than to see really good horses run. And it's slightly different in Britain. Like, I was in York recently for a run-of-the-mill Friday meeting. I couldn't get over York. But Ireland doesn't have that in terms of our Premier Flat meetings, and it'd be great if we got it back. Yeah,
attendances in the UK are up. Yeah. I think the weather has definitely helped. I went to, like Johnny said, a run-of-the-mill Friday card at Newmarket recently, and it was absolutely packed. Obviously, the sun has helped, but the UK racing scene is actually doing quite well recently.
It's still a great day out.
I think we're really lucky that we've had this dry spell from that point of view, that people are quite happy. They know what the weather is going to be, so they are going racing, whereas when it rains, straight away you see people just stay at home. You can't blame them. It's difficult. It's an outdoor sport. Some tracks are designed really well. Then I think of like Glorious Goodwood, the most phenomenal, beautiful track that I think there is in the world, and I'm not exaggerating that when it rains and it's damp, not a great place to go. Probably rather watch it on TV, and I live quite nearby.
I did that. I took Zoe to the Sussex Stakes the year when Churchill was pulled out and Here Comes When beat Ribchester, and it bucketed it down the whole weekend and the whole day. And that was, that was a disaster.
People are becoming, and it's getting worse and worse, absolute internet addicts, just on their phone all the time, right? If you go racing, it's actually still a beautiful social occasion. You meet people. And we don't actually need to we don't need to change much in terms of the racecourse experience. If we can promote the idea of just meeting people, having a laugh and seeing the best of horses in the flesh, like, it's still a great day out. And like, I think the infield at York is like £8 and you can bring your own food and drink. Like, that's unheard of in Ireland. And I have to say, I loved that experience at York. I hadn't been there since Frankel ran all those years ago, and I loved it. But I think we shouldn't lose sight of how good a day out racing still is.
Agreed. We had a great day at the Curragh, and that's where we're going to start in Racing Recap. So the first race that we'll recap is the Irish Oaks. Minnie Hawk Johnny was sent off 2-11 to follow up her Oaks success at Epsom. There was a couple of strides where I thought we might have a race on, but in the end, she ground it out well, and it's just a thought of where she's going to go next after this performance.
Yeah, it's really an odd year in terms of the Arc. I think it's 14-1 the field. Aidan might have 3 of the first 5 in the betting, even though there's a dirt and good middle distance horse at the moment in Britain, definitely. I don't even know what to make of our Derby winner Lambourne, who is very good. We might see on Saturday. Let's see where we're at. I'm coming around to the idea that Minnie Hawk, I hope Hayley might have some kind of information from her brother here, because she's a funny, she doesn't. She's a slightly deceptive horse, I think, in some respects, because you look back on, she was sent off 2-11 and a 7-2 second favourite in a 7-horse race. So it wasn't even that much of a bad each way bet to get the 3 places, but there were only 2 horses that the punters wants to know. But everything about her has been progress, with the exception maybe of the Curragh being a step back from Epsom, but she won. And if you look at the last 100 yards, she's really, really going away from a good, solid filly. And I do feel that neck victory over Whirl could look outstanding form in the context of the Whirl, Calpana, all of this collateral form we might see over the next few days. Like, Whirl was exceptional subsequently at the Curragh, I thought, in a really, really good race. And the 3-year-old filly getting the allowance that she'll get if she goes to the Oak. I actually asked Aidan this morning. They're still making plans for her. It looks like she'll go to York.
Yeah.
I would absolutely run her. I will talk about Al Rifa later on. I'd be running him the Arc as well. I think it's a really, really sort of winnable renewal of the race. But 3-year-old fillies have such an allowance in it. I wouldn't be discounting her in the Arc, because she sort of relaxes in her races, and I do wonder, and I would like if Ryan were here, I do wonder what she feels like, because she feels like she's kind of going through the motions a bit in her races. And I was disappointed initially Saturday, but the more I looked at it, I was like, no, I'd like to see her step up again and see what she's capable of.
Yeah, I actually looked at it. 4 career victories, winning distances of half a length, a neck, and now 1 1/4 lengths. I just think she hits the front and job done.
Yeah, I think she finds life easy. I remember seeing her at Chester early on this year, and I was just like, she doesn't look like she gives herself a hard time at all, which from an operation like that, where they push them to the limits. But I thought she presented like quite like she takes everything in her stride. She came out and won, and she went and won again. Now she's won again. I just think that she's got a great constitution, and I think the way that she is so laid back, that's going to be what sets her apart and puts her at the top level, because she's never doing too much. She's not giving herself a hard time. And the other day, I thought, even again, she's won, and it's quite unusual to think, you're winning these races and having a hard time, because you can still win a race by 10 lengths and have a hard time. But I feel like she's holding back, so I'd love to see her, really be challenged and have a strongly run race on like the other day. And I just want to see what she can do, and I'd love to see her up against the boys, because obviously she's done everything well within ease, and I just think she's quite remarkable. But I do think her attitude and her demeanour, the way she goes about things, will set her above and make life easier because she seems so relaxed.
Yeah, if you had an arc with, say, Jan Bruegel, Lamburn, her, for example, like Ryan Moore would have a tough choice.
Los Angeles.
He really would. Los Angeles, like, I think he'd abandon Los Angeles in the sense that something has to come and improve.
Yeah.
But she has, like Hayley spoke about it well there, she has, a lot of Frankel horses can be a bit about their mind. She's almost like the perfect racehorse in that sense, as long as she's done quite enough.
Yeah.
I love watching her race.
Yeah, I thought she was better suited by the stronger pace at Epsom that Well made for her as opposed to this. I thought when Aidan O'Brien declared all those kind of substandard fillies in this race, that they'd make it a really strong test, but it wasn't. It was a 111% finishing speed percentage, and I just thought this proved how good she is, that she could overcome that slow pace and still win as she did.
Like, it wasn't, I mean, in relation to the quality of the race, you look at the third and the fourth, so island hopping. Like, Aidan's had these horses who've come into the classics and outperformed their rating, series contender, for example. Like, he did have the first 4 of the first 5 home, and his son had the other. And it was a bit of a sort of a Ballydoyle Gallop thing, an 83 rated fourth. So it wasn't a spectacular renewal, but it's just a manner of, I would love to see her taken on, and we will find out sooner or later what she's capable of. But it's that way of preserving herself, because, like, if she raced like her dad, for example, like, you're talking about contrast here, like, she's really preserving what's left. But I thought Ryan's body language was kind of interesting. Coming into the straight, he was sort of looking, okay, you knew he was going to win, but it was just a question of, he was probably a little bit, okay, come on, just do this now. And maybe a furlong down, he's like, okay, we're getting there. But the second isn't a bad horse, to be fair.
No, 7-4 for the Yorkshire Oaks, 14-1 for the Arc. So it is going to be interesting. That Yorkshire Oaks could be quite good, because you're going to have a Strange going there as well, amongst others.
Yeah, and whether or not she'll definitely line up, I think she'll probably be the one at this stage, the one to beat. And I would be more taken by what she did at the weekend than what Estranged did last time out. Possibly the ground, maybe Estranged does need it, a lot softer than what she had the last day. But still, I was more sold on Minnie Hawk's performance over the weekend at this stage. But I'd definitely be interested in her for York. Be a bit cautious, I think, looking ahead to the Arc at this stage. I think that's a bit too far away, but loads to like about the way she's doing things, and she's not been given an unnecessarily hard time, so it's exciting.
He won it with Found in 2016.
That's the horse that makes me think about Aidan getting them to peak.
He hasn't won the race since as well, which is kind of mad.
And I remember going into the race thinking, not sure what she'll do, but it was all about getting her to peak on the big day.
He did 1, 2, 3 that day.
Yeah.
But it is weird. Like, he won the race in 2007 with Dylan Thomas. So in the last 20 years, he's basically been won a decade. Dylan Thomas arguably should have been sort of thrown out on the day. But this will be this is a year where he has a strong hand in a year when there just doesn't seem to be a lot going around. Like, we'll talk about some of them.
It's like 12-1 the field.
Yeah, I've never seen this. I've never seen it so open at this.
And like you said earlier, he's got so many contenders, the likes of Jan Bruegel, Lambourne, Los Angeles, Minnie Hawk, Well.
Absolutely,
it's going to be a brilliant.
Pearl seems to be progressing as well. So yeah,
definitely, we'll come to her later on, possibly. You've already mentioned Al Rifa. Won the Curragh Cup, seemed to relish the step up in trip to a mile and 6. I was quite keen on him on the show last week. First start in Ireland since July 2023, and it's just been a brilliant horse.
Globetrotter, yeah. You say he relished step up in trip. I mean, he looked like it was a glorified, almost like a, I don't know. They went no pace at all for me, and he was able to, like, I tipped up Dermot Wells' horse in the race on the base that, like, if Wootton Bassett's had an incredible year, a mile and 6 would probably be stretching it in terms of the horse that he's had so far, but he's getting everything, and he's getting a really good mile and 6 horse here whose primary aim looks to be the Melbourne Cup. So you're talking about 2 miles. I spoke to Kevin Blake this morning, who was a stable rep, I think, at the weekend, and it looks like the Irish Ledger is the plan. I would definitely run this horse in the Arc. I mean, he's extremely reliable. It's not a strong renewal of the race. And just on like Harbour Wind here, he's rated 107. I tipped him up. They probably didn't go fast enough for him, but he absolutely left him for dead. He's a really, really likeable horse. Ground versatile, tactically versatile, can travel away. And it got me thinking, like, I mean, what would you prefer to win, the Arc or the Melbourne Cup? Like, I don't think there's any comparison. One is a staying handicap. The other one is a premier mile and a half race in the world, practically, or certainly in Europe. But then again, Aidan's won it with Rekindling, or Joseph's won it with Rekindling. Maybe he wants to go back again, but I wouldn't. It would be no comparison for me. I don't know.
I'd love to have a runner in either.
give it time.
Anyone, yeah.
It was a very good performance. Like he's taken on probably Group 2 horses in a Group 2, but he destroyed them and showed he has a turn of foot as a stayer with speed, I suppose.
Yeah, he's a proper Group 1 performer, isn't he? Was good behind Rebel's Romance in the Hardwick as well.
Yeah, he's been fantastic, really, on the whole. And I thought that the way he went through the race on the day was really impressive. They obviously tried the blinkers at Ascot. They swapped them back and put the cheek pieces back on, and I just thought he looked as though he was as good as he's ever been over the weekend. I think I'd agree with Johnny. I'd rather see him run in an arc than go down under. I think he'd end up with a very big weight.
You could get drawn. I mean,
yeah,
it's just
so much
and
luck.
It's such a tough race, like, and it's
You've also got to pass the vets.
You have to pass the vets. Like, you can ask your dad about that. Like, it's not. I don't know. And this was a horse who won like the national stakes. It was a weak national stakes. He's a 7 furlong Group 1 horse who can now effectively be a Group 1 horse. He has a load of ability. I don't know though. I mean, if I were, I wouldn't be. The Melbourne Cup doesn't really do it for me, but the Arc absolutely does. And to me, look, he's had 14 races. He hasn't had that many goes at this sort of level. I'd be going for the Arc if I had him. I don't think it's on the agenda though.
No.
66s if you want to take a chance.
There you go. Could be a big price. Hackwood Stakes, Rager Bambi, I didn't see it coming. 33-1, but really nice story. 100th winner for Hot to Trot Racing, a syndicate of 80 odd members formed in 2012. A good performance, and actually, if you look at the form in behind, you could say that it was all round to form.
Yeah, I mean, Eve's campaigned her, really, some really good races, and there's been all sorts of excuses, and for whatever reason, everything was good over the weekend. Whether it was not being in season that's made life tricky, but they were all very pleasantly surprised, everyone that was involved. I don't think they were quite expecting Rager Bambi to come out on top at 33-1. I thought King's Gamble was the horse to take out the race. Beforehand in the paddock, he looked like he would really come on for the run, so I thought that was a fantastic effort. And
where would you go with him now in terms of trip? Because I thought it was an incredible run really for a miler. If he is a miler.
Yeah. What a way to have a prep run before potentially going back up in trip. I don't know. I think surely they're going to campaign over shorter. Obviously did well a couple of seasons ago when he was tried over the 6 before they stepped him up. He's bumped into some good horses. He's very lightly raced, but I thought it was a great return off over 350 days off from the track. To be sharp enough and only beaten less than a couple of lengths, and obviously the winner did it quite comfortably in the end. But no, I think they'll probably have another go over the 6 furlongs. It's rated pretty decent, 110. You think of the July Stakes and the big shocks that we've had, and I know he looked like a really beautiful physical horse, but I just thought, there's more to come from you. So
what's the difference in training a horse for sprints and mile races?
Well, I suppose it's almost doing less with them at home, keeping their sharpness. And we hear it all the time, horses getting faster as they're getting older. He's only 4.
Is that a muscular thing? Or
I think it's like developing, getting stronger, building up muscle. It's like, I suppose, long distance runners, that sort of comes in time as well. It's just giving you whatever it is you're going to excel at. And the way you're made up, obviously Jim Bolger was the man that started off looking at all the different chromosomes and how your body's made up with what your physique is.
I don't want to ever go there anyway.
Yeah, that's really complicated. But I do feel as though he's going back to what he did as a 2-year-old, and they've explored, obviously, going the route that his sire Kingman, and now
he's entered he's entered in a mile handicap at York. I think that's his only entry at the moment, but he does stay a mile.
Yeah.
So he's going to be a lot of fun.
If he was going to get tested out as well, I mean, the finishing speed percentage of the winner was 96%, so they went really hard early on, which for a miler dropping down in trip would have got him out of his comfort zone. So actually, the testament, the fact that he stayed on to finish second off that strong pace, probably says that he is worth another go at the trip.
And I think the ground had changed to good by that point after or getting soaked. But
he's not gelded as well. So
he's
genuinely a potential stallion prospect because he's by Kingman and he's fast and he's already rated 110.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot worse horses go to stud. I don't know what sort of. He's a brother to winners, but basically, yeah, he's like they have some Clipper Logistics have nice options with this horse now, because that was I think for a miler to do that off a year off the track is a hell of a run.
Yeah.
Even he'd be regional, which is good going.
I couldn't believe he beat regional. I thought finally regional was going to have his win this season after being really consistent. Since he ran over in Dubai, he's been such an admirable sprinter, and then I thought, oh yeah, finally he'll be the one. It's just that
downpour of rain, wasn't it? It kind of just didn't need that.
Wheel spinning.
Yeah, and then you could see why he was sent off favourite, and he should have been. But it was just so disappointing for all his connections that Rage of Bambi finally got back to winning ways, and then obviously the new kid on the block. Well, not new, but going back to sprinting and being quite happy over 6 furlongs for King's Gamble. So yeah, it was quite interesting, but King's Gamble will be the horse that I'll definitely be following going forward. I just loved the way that he looked beforehand and then just completely outran how he looked physically. So
it's just
he'd be one to take
fairly low ebb for sprinting, I think, in these parts. There just isn't much around.
No.
It's like one of the July Cup. You could run these sprints and you wouldn't be ruling anything out because it's so reliant on pace on the day, even in sprints. And I don't know, Ireland just doesn't seem to be able to produce anything at the moment. I don't know it's the way we're breeding our horse or whatever, but and you'll have all these sort of Galileo bred mares coming into the mix now that probably won't be producing sprinters. Even Lamburn, I think, is out of a sprinter and he's a 1.5 mile horse because it's just, I don't know, we don't seem to breed them, but we're really, really at a low ebb at the moment.
Yeah. It was a day at Newbury for the syndicates because Anthelia won for Midland Park Racing the Super Sprint, 6,000 guineas purchase, won the Super Sprint, just held off Havana Hurricane at the finish. I like the performance.
Yeah, I really like the performance. For me, it was the performance that she put in at Sandown, going back to the National Stakes when she came from nowhere, that I actually thought for a sales race, you could be quite confident. I think they openly said the last day that the tactics were all wrong. So seeing her, sort of with Lewis allowed to just ride it as he kind of found her on the day, to put a line through that turn of foot at Sandown up the hill, I thought that was phenomenal. So with a nice weight in the race, potentially drawn in the right place, seemed to be riding quite fair. But I was expecting her to be really competitive, and for a 6-1, quite an open look to the race, because that is the nature of it. It's probably not a punter's friend when it comes to trying to sort it out on handicaps and weights because of how it is the race. It's quite unusual. I thought that she was quite an obvious, and it sounds like after timing, but quite an obvious.
Yeah, she was the solid one.
Yeah, definitely. And I just think she's got a fantastic turn of foot. But they're going to go for, I think, more sales races going forward. I'd like to see her sort of up in class, but you can't blame them going for big pots, especially when they own half of her. So I thought she was really impressive, and it was just unfortunate Eve's horse couldn't quite get the better of her on this occasion, but they were drawn quite a way apart and probably didn't help.
I think if you back to Havana Hurricane, it's just one of these. It's in a sprint. It just sums up the fun of and also the horror of backing horses, because you're like, I mean, Charlie Bishop has to pass practically everything, but you're kind of always thinking, yeah, he's probably okay. And no sooner does he hit the front that he's done on the line. Like, I thought it was a great race to watch. He has so many entries. Like, he's actually entered in Naas the week after next in the Ballyhane Stakes. I think he's going for
either Goodwood 5 or 6.
And he's actually entered in he's 2 races in. He can even go for the Nunthorpe. But he's in the Jim Crack, and then he's 3 other races, 2 sales races, all these lucrative races. He's so close to getting that big pot. Yeah. I thought, but he's a very likeable sprinter. Like 5 or 6, I don't think it'd be a problem for him.
No, he could go anywhere. No. And Theda, I think, is heading to York for the Harry's $500,000 as well. That sales race. So, yeah, we'll see them again very shortly. Last race we'll review in full is the Steventon Stakes. Royal Dubai beat Rashabar by a length on his first start for Owen Burrows. I thought this was Rashabar's to lose, and I was fairly confident. I think it hit like 1.2 in running.
And he left him for dead, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Owen Burrows, I mean, I don't know, would they supplement this horse for a bigger, he doesn't have any fancy entries, but like he's fairly much a blank canvas at a mile and two, and I don't think you can say, I think it looked a fairly genuine race, and I loved his turn of foot, and Owen is probably only getting to know the horse as well. It was a really nice performance.
Yeah, the handicappers based it around Rashabar. He's raised Ryder by £10 this morning, up to 114. So, yeah, Rashabar, you can't say that he didn't get the trip, but I thought if you take the winner out of the race, I thought Rashabar actually had no excuses.
Definitely, and I was surprised when I saw Sean Levy go to the front and lead, but then when I saw him slow it up and dictate the pace, I thought, oh yeah, that's fine. So that in the end, it wasn't, he didn't go too fast, it wasn't strongly run, it was just a lovely pace, and he definitely saw the trip out. But Owen was very complimentary to how the horse turned up from Marco Botti's yard, and I suppose it's just a different set of eyes, isn't it? And he thought, no, you've tried 1.25 miles once, for whatever he was seeing at home. He's obviously in a very short space of time. Let's give a 1.25 miles another try. Let's not forget Owen Burrows spent a lot of time with Sir Michael Stout, and he's done incredibly well in his training career. Former jump jockey, of course, like learning from the master. And he's just thought, yeah, I'm going to explore 1.25 miles, and wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. They got off to a winning start. So I think there'll be definitely more to come from him over this trip. Absolutely gorgeous looking individual, stood out, like stunning looking horse. And the fact that he's a 5-year-old horse as well. He had nice demeanour, took everything in his stride, looked really well. So I think it could be quite exciting to see how they're going to campaign him and, freshen up, change of scenery as well, based down obviously in Lambourne now. And, he seems to have enjoyed it. Horses can get sick of being in Newmarket, get them out. It's just a bit of a swap around, freshen up, and they couldn't have got off to a better start.
No, Rose of Lancaster Stakes next at Haydock. Apparently will be his target. Johnny, I'll come to you. We had brilliant action elsewhere in Ireland. You touched on True Love already. We had Arizona Blaze winning. We had One Look winning on the Sunday as well. Anything else you wanted to touch on in Ireland?
Lots to get through. The first race, the maiden, for me was nearly like I go to I look at these meetings some days, and there could be like 3 group races, but for whatever it is, the maidens for me, the 2-year-old maidens are almost like when you go to the races and you see the horses and you have to try to figure out, well, this horse is one of the best pedigrees ever, but he's only 3rd string for Ballydoyle. And you look at New Zealand, who, I don't know, we talked about Minnie Hawk. This is another Frankel. You liked him on debut. I think you liked that debut effort when he was ridden by Ronan Whelan, and he was 10-1. And, with the Galileo breds, they were nearly always absolutely guaranteed to come on for the next run. Now, a lot of the Frankel horses can be fairly ready first time out. This horse didn't. But he's out a different league. He's a half-brother to Agenda, who's a horse that did me a favour one day at Dundalk and ended up being a very good horse initially as a Derby sort of contender. But you look at the Isaac Newton, who was second, he's an interesting pedigree. He's by Camelot. The family haven't done a lot at all. They've actually the dam has been relatively disappointing at stud. I mean, if the race were run tomorrow, would he win? But Aidan was really gushing about New Zealand in terms of how green he is and the potential. And then back in 3rd was another Frankel bred out at Gossamer Wings. Action. This is the first 3 home in a maiden, and it's a maiden that's been a very informative maiden. Henry Longfellow on the line in winter have won the last 2 renewals. These 3 horses, the 3 of them going forward, I'm really interested to see where they go. The next race then, Go Atletico, who was an old favourite of mine. I couldn't give him a chance on the ground. It was good ground, good yielding places. He wins. What to me, this race. So I tip up. This is racing right. I tip up Big Gossie. Won the race last year. Doesn't go a yard. Like literally, he's top weight, but doesn't go a yard. They turn up the next day, and he's beaten 2 lengths by the Aidan's good horse. But anyway, so he literally turns up the next day and runs to form. But in the race I tip him in, he doesn't run. So, and in fairness, it wasn't much for a race. But Go Atletico. So I'm looking him up his form today. He's been a sprinter in Ireland. Over 7 furlongs. He beat Sealaway in Longchamp in 2020. He beat Sealaway, who's now a sire. He beat him on good soft over 7 furlongs 5 years ago, and they've hardly tried it in Ireland. He's going for the Alnahura in Galway, and Aidan McGuinness loves Galway, and I think this horse, if he gets a reasonable draw, hell of a turn of foot, no fluke at all about him winning. Now, it wasn't a great renewal of the race. True Love, I mentioned, I was amazed by it looking at it, because I definitely fancy Puerto Rico. But talking to people since, I'd be willing to see what happens in the Cheveley Park, maybe just as a week renewal of the race.
Yeah, she was top 4 on all the race IQ metrics, the 0 to 20 mile an hour, stride length, finishing speed percentage, top speed. It might just be, like you said, that she was the best in the race.
Yeah.
But she is a star 2-year-old filly going forward, and the Cheveley Park seems made for her.
And she was beaten by Gustad at Navan.
Yeah.
That's the form that, like, Aidan has all of these horses who are no longer by Galileo. He's all these different sires, a lot of a Frankel influence. Gustad is a Star Spangled Banner, which is actually rare enough nowadays. Star Spangled Banner, former winner of the July Cup. But my information was that they couldn't see her beaten that day, and Gustad beat her, and we haven't seen him since. He obviously missed Ascot. So I don't know where he's going to run next, but she for him to have beaten her at that stage would suggest he's exceptional as well. But I want to see her next time, because I couldn't believe it on the day, and apparently subsequently, it wasn't quite as good as it looked.
Hey, anything else that took your eye? We had good action in France, we had good action in the UK, or anything else?
I have to go back to Newbury, actually. Consent of Sir Mark Prescott, who managed to come out on top. It was just a fillies novice stakes, but it was the manner in which she did it. Again, we haven't seen her for a while. She was an unusual debutant winner for the yard, although I say that they had a really nice one at Newmarket on Saturday as well. But I just loved the way she went through the race. She's quite a smart-looking filly as well. And she physically does look as though she's quite light, probably gives herself a hard time. I think she came to hand very quickly when they did start working her, just a simple 6 pieces of work, which would normally be kind of like bare minimum before they start racing. Generally, it's like a basic rule to go by. Right. And she came out, she had 6 bits, and she looked very, very fit, but ran really well, and a little bit green in the closing stages, but they're going to campaign her over 1.25 miles, and Sir Mark said probably a few races over in France that he'll be targeting at a better level. But I really was taken by her. I thought she was exciting, and in time she might step up in trip, but I thought she was quite an interesting, smart, flashy sort, and Luke was quite taken by her as well.
So with that being kind of light and hard on herself, would she need more time between her races to put the weight back on to then run again?
She wouldn't take much training to come to hand, and he said, you're spot on. You could see that she wouldn't be needing a first run back. She's obviously quite a busy girl, but she did it very comfortably in the end, the way she won. Yeah, you'd be mindful just hopefully that the next time we see her racing, there'll be a nice sort of break, at least a minimum of 3 weeks between her races. But I think there'll be more to come. She was sent off around about 11 to 2. Glistening was favourite. She just went wrong in the race, was eased up. And it looked an exciting race on paper, a bit of an unknown, but it was just the manner that she went on to do it easily over a couple of lengths. First run back as well off a break.
Yeah, there was one that took my eye in Newmarket on Friday, Scoville. I don't know if you saw this. Ridiculously impressive.
1 to 8.
1 to 8, but the manner of it.
Fascinating horse going forward.
Yeah.
Where does one go?
Well, the handicap has given him a rating of 106 off the back of 2 runs this morning. But Angus did a bit on race IQ data, and it was really, really impressive. It's from 3 furlongs to 6 furlongs in the race where he'd actually won it over that distance, and then was kind of eased up towards the finish. But
still won by like 14 lengths.
Could be ridiculously impressive. Definitely group level, and it's just interesting to see where they go from here.
Yeah, I was looking up his pedigree this morning. He has a beautiful pedigree actually, and like it's kind of when you see these horses win a minute in these small races, you don't know where you're at. He's a fascinating horse going forward. I mean, I would love to see some of these, even these left field horses come over to Ireland for some good race before the season is out to see where we're at. But he's one of these could be anything types, isn't he? In the barn he's in as well.
Big time. Yeah, I was really impressed. It's always very good when you see the horses win at that short of a price, but that was impressive on the clock and everything going forward. Just one last race I want to mention as well is Ballysax Hank obviously came over and won the Summer Plate for Gavin Cromwell, Paul Byrne and Harry Cobden.
So I tipped for Racing TV, and I'm trying to do all the Irish meetings if I can. I tipped him up at Bellewstown, which was basically, now bear with me, right? So this is a race that gets you into the Galway Hurdle if you win. Petrolhead won it last year, and then lo and behold, the day of the Galway Hurdle, they're like, no, you're not running Galway. But Ballysax Hank So I spoke to Gavin Cromwell beforehand. He's like, the trip would be a bit of a worry now. Be a bit short for him. So he travelled really well. But I was at Downpatrick, and I'm friendly with Paul. I was at Downpatrick when he went from like 2s to 11 to 2 and bolted up in a chase. And he looked like a real chaser that day. I completely missed that he was running. I completely missed that he was running on Saturday until I saw, and I forget now, but somebody had tipped him up on the racing TV page above my tips, and I tipped 2 duds on Saturday. I was like, how did I not see he was running? A lucrative chase. He's gotten a really reasonably reasonable mark. Like this looks, and God, he bolted up. Like he bolted up. Now he's not entered. I spoke to Paul this morning. He's not entered the Galway Plate. I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe it might be too early for him, but I think he's going to go for the Kerry National. In the Stole, which is a great meeting if ever you want to go to the Stole. That would be stepping up to 3 miles. But he was ex Brendan Duke. I think Ballysax Hank was a local character that in the betting in Dublin, and he's named after a good character. But I love that performance. I mean, Harry Cobden just looked, it was kind of like he'll just win, just try to avoid.
Yeah.
And Paul also went over with a 3-year-old hurdler whose name escapes me, won a 1 to 4.
Yeah.
But he, and again, I should have my prep done here, but he's a really interesting horse going forward because looking at his flat form, he could be a really nice juvenile hurdler. And I know it's very early to be looking into Cheltenham, but he's a horse I could see rocking up at Cheltenham. His name escapes me at the moment, but Ballysax Hank, he'll be favourite, I'd say, for the Kerry National if he goes.
Yeah, really impressive. I caught like Mickey Bowen's having a brilliant time on it. Cortland finished second, was top on jump index, lengths gained, speed lost, and still was beaten 5 lengths by what had to be a handicap block.
Yeah, he just looked as though he was doing his best work late on. It like he'd been put to bed, fallen asleep, and just hunted around very quietly by Harry Cobden. So I think going up in trip looks as though it would suit him from what we saw on that day. It's amazing how Harry's struck up these relationships in a very short space of time with these Irish trainers over literally the last few months, probably since sort of going into the Cheltenham Festival and coming out of it. And he's made a bit of an effort to go over for some of the festivals, riding out, obviously quite keen to make strong links with Willie Mullins because he wants to be on the best horses on the big days, not just getting the numbers and sort of making sure he's keeping fingers in lots of different pies. So he's like the go-to British-based jockey, isn't it, at the moment?
Especially in that race. I think it was his 3rd win in a row.
Yeah, it was.
I've gotten totally, like, my mind is kind of, my mind wanders at the best of times, but I was just looking up Ballysax Hank here. I've for some reason, I've been racing a lot when he won for Brendan Duke in Mallow. I was racing that day as well, and that was over, that was a bumper over 2 miles too, so that would suggest stamina. Who was he trained prior to being with Brendan Duke? Katie Brown, who trains Petrolhead, who I just mentioned. There's always a connection. There's always like every horse. This is why I love racing so much. You can have like a 60 rated flat handicapper who's run 10 times and hasn't won. But if you talk to his connections or you look into the horse, there's always something that'll come back to you. And that's what I love about racing. He was once trained by Katie Brown, but he does stay, and he's only 6. He's in the right hands. He's a really interesting horse. I think we'll be talking more about him. Gavin, of course, won the Kerry National with
Florence
Porter last year as well.
Did. Right, that seems like a good place to finish this week's edition of Racing Recap. Before we get into our weekend preview, just to let you know, our sponsor Bet365 have a best odds guaranteed offer. It's available on every single UK and Irish race from 8 AM on the day of the race. If you take a price and the SP is bigger, Bet365 will pay you out at the bigger odds. Full terms and conditions can be found on the website. So there's only one place to start this weekend, and that is the King George VI and Queen Elizabeth Stakes. A brilliant renewal this year. I'll run through the betting. You've got Calandagan at 7 to 4, joint favourite with his Coronation Cup conqueror Jan Bruegel. Kalpana at 9 to 2, Rebels Romance, the Hardwick Stakes winner, 6 to 1, Derby winner Lambourne 11 to 1, and Whirl at 14 to 1, who I would have as dubious runners at this stage, and then Green Impact 33 to 1 and Continuous at 100 to 1. Brilliant renewal, Johnny.
Brilliant renewal. How many run, I don't know, but to be fair, I feel regardless of how many run, it's going to be captivating stuff. I mean, flat racing, just when you get races like Calandagan and Jan Bruegel's race in the Coronation Cup, I just love that race. It was just like is he going to go by? Is he going to go by? Is he going to go by? But Epsom's such a different track to Ascot. And the last time Calandagan was at Ascot, he smashed Space Legend 2 runs back and then finished second to Anmat. And he did when he was. You'd have some questions about his resolution when Jan Bruegel maybe out-battled him, but he did get his Group 1 the last day of Songclue. I don't know, it's going to be just fat. Like, I'm not sure it's a betting race per se. I don't know what's going to run. Kalpana, for me, maybe I slightly underestimated her, but I thought she should have won at the Curragh. She wasn't able for her. She shouldn't be able for these two, even over stepping up to 1.5 miles. Rebel's Romance, for me, is incredibly likeable. Her 7-year-old gelding has never won a Group 1. I don't think his form, if you look at his run in the race last year, I don't really see how he's going to improve massively to win it this year. And likely it will boil down to that match again. And last year's winning trainer might just have the answer. Calandagan, for me, I give him the benefit of the doubt. But if it's a battle between the two of them, you couldn't be confident he's going to go by this time. Because Jan Bruegel is still relatively unexposed in terms of these races. And I love the way he put his head down. But the one thing, and Hayley will know more about this to me, Epsom's a totally different track, probably different ground as well. I actually can't wait for the race, though. It's going to be interesting to see what Aidan O'Brien does tactically. What will he put with him?
Oh, well, Continuous will be in there, won't he? Making the
face. Maybe just that. I don't know who else. Maybe.
No, I can't see the other two.
Maybe neither. Yeah.
Yeah. Your thoughts on the race, Hayley?
I'm gonna hope that the rain comes for Kalpana. I think that this has very much been a race that she's targeted. I thought both of her efforts that we've seen over in Ireland this year have been good runs, not over her ideal trip. If it does end up on the softer side of things, which I don't know what it's going to do. At the moment it's good. They've had a little bit of rain. Then I was watching Windsor last night and it was absolutely chucking it down. So if there is a bit more rain around and it does come up soft, then I'd love to give her a chance. I think that she has got a lot of ability. I think she's getting better all the time. She's come into some good battles this season. I know she's not come out on top of them, but she's still run really well. And I just thought that going back to Ascot, over course and distance, I know she's taking on the boys. She gets a few pounds off their 9.9. She's got 9.6. Obviously, Oisin Murphy's back on board her because of Colin Keane's ban. But I just like her profile, and I think it's quite similar to like Blue Stocking. I know she came up short to Goliath in the race before going on to win the Art, but I just think there's more to come from her. I think she's progressing. She improved absolutely no end during her 3-year-old season, and I've liked what I've seen from her this year. Some people might have questioned her attitude last time out when she was out battled by Whirl. She travelled so well and Whirl just kept fighting.
Yeah, I don't think that was... I think Pearl was really optimally ridden as well.
Yeah, definitely, that's my
The massive thing here is, this is Minnie Hawk's form in a really under scrutiny, because Whirl is a really solid yardstick to what Minnie Hawk is capable of. And if Hayley is right here and Kalpana wins this, you have to be thinking, how good is Minnie Hawk? Because if I don't really see myself Campana here, but this is a massive. Be ready on the button to back her for the Arc. I think if Kalpana wins this.
You could even make the argument in Kalpana. I think at the start of the season, even Andrew Balding in interviews was saying the Art's going to be the long-term game and we're going to progress through the whole season, and that's literally how they have campaigned her. Definitely. I think this is her optimum trip. Do you remember last year there were like talks of pulling out on Champions Day because of the soft ground, and now it's like she needs it soft.
What she wants, so I think she's been running on good grounds. Obviously, we haven't had any rain this summer until what feels this week. And then I know it's a stiff mile and a quarter and a half at the Curragh that she's been running over, but I still feel like it's not been her optimum. And I just feel like on Saturday, she's going to have a few stars aligned, and I just think there could be more to come. Yeah, she's, they're rated higher than her. A couple of them that are very likely to line up in Calandagan and Jan Brunel. They're fantastic horses, and I respect Francis-Henri Graffard. I mean, Goliath was incredible last year when beating Blue Stocking, but I just think there's more to come from her. And I was lucky enough to go down last week, see her. I thought she looked amazing in herself. She's got quite a big frame on her, so I think time's only going to do her well, and she'll benefit from being a 4-year-old. I can see why she got so progressive as a 3-year-old. Very similar again to Blue Stocking, sort of from nowhere to ended up, struggling to win a maiden to being an arc winner. So
how does Oisin Murphy ride her?
It's going to be interesting tactically, isn't it? Because if you look at it, Calandagan probably want the strong pace. Jan Bruegel definitely will. Kalpana will. Rebels Romancer's won Yorkshire Cup over a mile and 6, so he's going to want a strong pace. It's going to be interesting to see tactically what they do.
My question would be, when does Ryan Moore commit? Like, when does he? Because there's one thing having a pacemaker, but when you have a pacemaker who has no chance, which was something that kind of Ballydoyle Coolmore did less of in as the years went on, because they're like, what's the point having a pacemaker with no chance when everyone ignores him? And in this instance, he doesn't really have a chance. But Ryan Moore, like, he can't be sitting like 2 furlongs down either and kind of just waiting, because Ryan has to think, I'm going to worry Calandagan out of it here. And then Oisin Murphy can kind of think, well, a bit, you sometimes see these 2-horse races where one jockey's worrying about the other. Oisin can kind of maybe say, well, I'll play my own little battle and see what's happening up front and maybe pounce late. That's why I love flat racing, because you just don't know. You don't know exactly what's going to happen. But Delacroix was plan C or whatever it was. I think this will be exactly as Ryan Moore thinks it will be going out, because there won't be a rabbit from the hat of somebody else. But it's going to be fascinating to watch. Is Calandagan? There will be everyone in the betting shop, or a lot of people in the betting shop, who will be ready to dismiss him. He wouldn't go through with his effort, so he'll have to prove himself again. But it's going to be a cracking race.
It is. I ran some trends to try and help myself with this. And it's like 12 of the previous 12 winners all run over a mile and a half. Well, they all tick that box. 10 of the previous 12 winners were rated 118 and higher. Well, they all tick that box. 10 of the previous 12 winners already won a Group 1 race. Oh, they've already ticked that one. 9 of the previous 12 winners are all age 4 or older. Yeah, they probably all ticked that one. 7 of the last previous 12 winners were all last time out winners, which Calandagan had obviously beaten and then won last time. So I tried to run some trends in order to try and help myself, and they end up all ticking the boxes.
Aidan's last winner was in 2016 as well, that's Highland Reel, who's been he was a real globetrotter, very disappointing stallion. But yeah, it's hard to believe that he hasn't had a winner since. Enable obviously dominant, but yeah, there we go.
I think the bettings, I don't know if they'll have Calandagan above Jan Brunel, but I think
not necessarily.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Very, very hard to split them.
I think it's very hard to split them, and I think tactically they outdid Calandagan when they met in the Coronation Cup.
I think the return to Ascot will suit Calandagan.
Definitely, yeah. He's such a big
How do you ride him?
So Jan Brunel.
He'll sit behind the others.
Yeah.
The classic Mikel Barcelona ride in order to try and swoop late.
There's some criticism of Epsom. I really thought he'd every chance, but sometimes I think we can be harsh on horses who are sort of out-battled. Like, if you have a horse who's a real stayer, who's been optimally ridden, and he's not stopping, it's not that you're necessarily out-battled. It's just like, I actually can't go by him today. But maybe he will on Saturday. That's why we love racing.
Yeah, I cannot wait for this renewal.
Cracking.
Next race we'll preview is the Moet and Chandon International Stakes. Wide open. Currently, the market is headed by your Bunbury Cup winner, who is Alto. I'm just trying to load the betting here. Yeah, Alto 5-1. Acadian Thunder is 11-2. Classic, who got back to winning ways at Sandown, is 6-1. Last year's winner, Northern Express, who runs here off a £2 lower mark, is next in at 8-1. Billy Joe 10-1, and it's 12-1 bar. Hayley, your thoughts on the big handicap?
Yeah, very open look to it. I've actually come down on a horse that's probably a bit shorter. I thought I'd try and get a bit of value in the race, but I was very taken by Classic and the way this horse went to the front at Sandown. I thought Sean Levy was brilliant on him. Julie Wood's horse, Richard Hannon, made all and just didn't see another rival that day. Was sent off around about 6-1, and I just really like the way he did it. I think that he's a real honest sort of horse, and I was very taken by him. And they thought long and hard about how they were going to ride him that day, and they just decided to just go from the front, which is obviously not something you can do at Ascot because it's a completely different track. But I just thought the fact that he showed his well-being and over, the mile, we know that he's got a bit more pace as well. I thought beating Arasanga into second, that I thought was good form. Obviously, that horse probably underperformed in the Kensington Palace, but he was held up and actually made up a good bit of ground late on. But I just really like his profile coming into this. back at Ascot in September before he was gelded, he ran all right over the mile on soft ground. But I think since he's been gelded, I think he's been running some really good races at Newbury, whether it was on the round course, the big valuable handicap that they had to put because they were doing some work that was back on the round, and then the My Cloud form pops up again at Newbury, and then he was in good form in his last couple of starts at Sandown. So again, if it's ground that has a bit of rain on, that won't affect him. So I'm hoping that he'll manage to make it sort of back-to-back victories for the stable. And I know he's probably not much value in what looks an incredibly open race, but I just really liked his attitude the other day, and I just feel like they're onto something. So I'm hoping that they'll take that confidence forward. He'll be running with a penalty in a nice 3-week gap. So yeah, I'm going to stick with Classic.
He's a special horse because he's out of date with Destiny, who was George Washington's pretty much only foal. And I was looking at him, Hayley, like the challenge of potentially making the running here.
It's hard. You can't do it.
My selection would be Altos. A lot of back form in this race. Going back to Fresh. Did Fresh win this race like 3-4 years ago?
Probably.
Ran well in the race last year. And
he won it in 2022.
2022. So, and as you say, last year, Northern Express won it. I think it's worth looking at Altos running the race last year. He probably wouldn't have won, but he was only a 4-year-old who was quite well fancied in the race, having won at Newmarket. He was badly, Luke Morris rode him badly in traffic at a crucial time. I don't know what to make the last day at Newmarket. He was 40-1, so I presume he wasn't ready, and he was basically being prepped for this, but it was still a lucrative race. But you'd imagine that Ian Williams wants to come back to win this. But for all that he was 40s at Newmarket, he nearly won. The only disappointing thing for me is he's 6-1 best. So you're not getting a great price, but everything sort of points to him. And hopefully maybe Hayley's runner there'll be a pace struggle up front if you're on one of the hold-up horse. But it's hard to knock. Alto just has to run well if he gets a clear run, I think. Yeah,
I was at Newmarket covering it when he made his reappearance, and he badly needed the run, and then obviously they'd won the Bunbury Cup the previous year and was then back. I couldn't believe that he was 40-1. So he obviously came forward lots from it. It's well in at the weight, so you can see why he'll go well. I thought it was interesting. Cody Lyon, Fred Larson is who's ridden Billy Joe on his previous 5 starts, is jocked up on Cody Lyon. Now Billy Joe did also have an option of running in the Racing League on Thursday that he hasn't been declared for. So whether that's going to be a similar jockey booking when declarations come through. But I liked his run. He finished second behind the subsequent Wokingham winner, Get It, over 6 furlongs here in May. That rival's now rated £11 higher. Cody Lyon won on his next start at Haydock and is now only £6 higher. So I thought you could make a case based on weights there. He's technically £1 wrong on official figures, but his 2 Ascot runs have been a course and distance win over 7 furlongs and a second to a subsequent Royal Ascot winner over 6. So I thought 16-1 for Cody Lyon was quite a big price in this.
Yeah, some are wrong at the weight, some are right.
Yeah.
I think your selection's got £5 with his mark, but it's it's such good prize money, so it's always a bit of a conundrum.
Yeah, it's a good card at Ascot as well.
Yeah.
You've got the Princess Margaret Stakes, you've got the Queen Mary runner-up Flowerhead, who could face the Albany runner-up Awaken. You've got the Valiant Stakes, where James Tate has both Royal Dress and Cloud Cover, who I'd have slight question marks back on turf. Then you've also got the York Stakes, where we might finally see Al McCann again this season. He could take on Persica and Stanhope Gardens. Was there anything else over the weekend that kind of was catching your eye?
No, I'm really hoping that we will get to see Al McCann. I think it's been a pretty difficult time for them, and they've been really patient in not running the horse, especially when you go back to that form at Sandown, beating Ombudsman. He looks quite short in the betting, but you can't have him at any bigger price really with that line of form. I thought, I don't know what price you've got for Bay City Roller, but I thought that horse, from when I was looking yesterday evening, looked a nice each way price.
12-1.
Yeah, I definitely have to put him in behind Al McCann at that price each way, because his run at Saint-Cloud and at the Group 2 pre-Eugene Adam, he was beaten by a horse called Dariance, an Aga Khan horse, who's really, really smart. and I thought it was a very good effort from him. He ran him quite close. It was a big step up from leaving listed company where he finished second to Opera Ballo, and I think there could be more to come from him. He's still really lightly raced. And I think Darrence is a really smart horse of the Aga Khans, so I thought he was just unfortunate, but he ran a great race, ran him very close, and if he lines up on Saturday, I know he's got a few other options, I think he represents a little bit of value for George Scott. So the ground shouldn't be a problem if it does rain. He seems to be versatile. He's won on good to firm, he's won on good ground, and he ran really well the other day in France when there was a bit of ease in ground. So yeah, Bay City Roller's a horse that I'll be looking at each way at 12-1.
Yeah, we did an odds checker kind of stable tour with George Scott, and he said that he was kind of weighted for the softer ground towards the end of the season for him. So yeah, that would work out perfectly. And obviously Opera Ballo has won again since, so that's boosted.
Yeah, of course.
That form.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I like Alazi in the race. I thought, when he ran behind Rebels Romance at Ascot, he travelled well. Like that form, so El Riffa was second, Ghost Rider was third. He's probably not quite good enough to win a race of that, even if. But the one thing was nothing came from off the pace really, and he kind of plugged on for pressure. Earlier on in the season, he beat Ancient Wisdom on his seasonal return. He's very versatile. You'd hope there's a bit of pace pressure up front with Al McCann maybe taking on, but Jim Crowley's been already booked. Shadwell's only horse in the race, so I presume he runs. He's 12-1. I'd like that each way. I'd really like to be sitting going into Saturday where you have your 12-1 each way. My nap of the weekend goes elsewhere. We can wait for that. If you want.
Can wait for that.
Yeah, an Irish Raider running elsewhere.
Yeah, we've got a couple of good races over in Ireland on the Thursday. The Silver Flash, 14 wins for Aidan O'Brien. He's declared composing, who obviously was a good winner of a maiden last time. You've got the Tyros Stakes, slightly disappointing, only 4 runners, 16 wins for Aidan O'Brien. That's Flushing Meadows. Anything else on that card at all that took your fancy?
So we're just getting the decks in as we were recording this morning. I suppose the one thing to note, it was the west of Ireland didn't get so much rain, but the east of Ireland, Ballinrobe were racing on good yielding over there. It was really, really heavy, and at the same time, soft to heavy at Leopardstown, which is usually good to firm this time of year, will be very interesting. Flushing Meadows, it's a pretty disappointing renewal of the Tyros, you'd have to say. It was second to Susie Songs, who in fairness looks a proper good horse. The last day, but I thought the 2-year-old race was definitely interesting. The Silver Flash, Brownstown landed a bit of a gamble on debut. Ryan is riding Composing, who beat Cape Sumion last time. Cape Sumion form ties in with Ballantina, who then ran very well behind Venetian Sun in the Albany, despite being 40-1. And Skydance, I actually spoke to William Recurry this morning, not about her. She's interested as well, but I'm really interested to see how Brownstown gets on. For all that, I'd say Composing could be quite smart and will take the beating in that race, but an interest renewal, not so much the Tyros.
No. A couple of Ascot that, I thought it was worth looking at. On the Friday, you got the Pat Edery Stakes. You've got Do or Do Not running 105 rated maiden, finished second in the Coventry Stakes and second in the July Stakes. Finally steps up in trip to 7 furlongs from 6 furlongs for the first time. I thought he should probably get off the mark at the 5th attempt. And then on Saturday in the 3:35, Hickory won the Victoria Cup this year off a mark of 86. I assumed then they'd target Royal Ascot. They didn't. They ran him at Sandown, Newbury and Newmarket twice with no success. But as a result, it's been dropped back down to a mark of 87. That's only £1 higher than the Victoria Cup success. And I thought the return to a mile shouldn't be a negative for Hickory. So I thought that might have been a little plot in the 3:35 at Ascot on Saturday. Before we get to best bets, anything else from you, Hayley?
I must just mention dear old Alza here for Jenny Candlish and George Wood, who goes to York on Saturday potentially in the dash up there. Now this is a horse, the dash handicap, really competitive stuff, but he was sent off at big odds recently at Ascot, and I suppose I followed him because I was up at Doncaster at the start of the season, and Alan O'Keefe, of course, assistant to Jenny and partner to Jenny Candlish, said, I think it's a really nice horse, and they hadn't really explored the sprinting route, but My word, is he on an absolute roll, and he's managed to win 3 on the bounce. He was 20-1 the other day, and he was in great form. I thought he won it quite decisively. It was that Super Saturday, really busy, so poor George Wood was elsewhere, but it gave Darragh Keenan the opportunity to steer him to success, and I'm just looking forward to seeing if he can keep on progressing, but I don't see why not, and hopefully he's another each-way price. Might not be 20-1 again like he was the other Saturday, but he just seems to be on an upward curve. And fair play to, I don't know, Keith, he said to me at Doncaster at the start of the season, it was like the Lincoln meeting, and he said, we really think a lot of him, and he's got the most, I mean, you'll probably have the pedigree there. He's got the most bizarre pedigree, Alza here, because he's by like See the Stars. So he's doing really well sprinting.
Yeah, the filly that won the other day, the big sprint was by Saxon Warrior as well. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, do we breed horses to sprint in these parts at all? Maybe we don't, you just kind of land on them sometimes. But yeah.
All right, that brings to an
more
end.
Speed is actually a lot of fun when you see fast horses, and I think we need to be mindful of that. Speed is where it's at, really. Say to ride, when you see Richard Hughes in the days when he'd ride those Oasis Dream and those brilliant horses, that was a lot of fun, and we could do with a good sprinter again. Yeah. Either England or Ireland.
And then Barry Doyle just ended up buying them and then putting Galileo to them.
Yeah.
Mecca's Angel.
Yeah. And they tend to be more staying types. Yeah, it is what it is, but yeah.
Yeah. Right, that brings to an end our preview. We'll be back shortly for our best bets of the weekend. Before we get into our best bets of the weekend, just to let you know of a free-to-play 6 horses challenge. It's available every weekend with free spins on offer if you get 2 or 3 selections correct. Prize pools available for 5 or 4 correct predictions, as well as a jackpot for all 6. Terms and conditions apply. Johnny, you gave us a tease earlier in the show around your best bet. It's an Irish horse, but where is it at?
Yeah, Jancis running in the, so it's the 220, the Longines Valiant Stakes, Group 3 at Ascot. The fact that it's a Group 3 is quite pertinent as well, because do I recall the two of us maybe tipping her up in the Matron probably nearly exactly a year ago? Yeah. She was disappointing that day, and I was sort of thinking, why did Billy Lee ride Vespertilio? Well, he did because he thought she would beat her. Now, she had been 40s on debut and 11-2 when she won her second start. So maybe she's not the flashiest at home. But if you look at her form this year, she was beaten 7.5 lengths by Whirl. But that was over a mile and 2. Whirl and Calpana, serious horses. She travelled fine. She was a bit out of her comfort zone in the closing stages. But her run prior to that really interests me. She was second on her seasonal return. But in her second start this season, she was just behind, not long behind, One Look and Porta Fortuna. She's 16-1. David Egan's going to ride. I spoke to Willie McCreary this morning. He's probably hoping that the rain doesn't arrive. He wants decent ground. That should be okay. 16-1, more than capable of being the first 3. Back at a mile for me. Travels well in a race, is consistent. I like that each way.
Yeah, and he's a hold-up performer, which will suit well.
Exactly.
Hayley, your best bet of the weekend?
My best bet is going to be Flowerhead, after she was sent off at 100-1 and finished a really gallant second to True Love, who of course we've seen come out and arguably boost the form. She was on arguably the wrong side, which definitely won her side at Ascot, for a trainer who is very new to the scene, Charlie Clover. I think he has a good eventing background. Obviously his brother trains, Tom Clover, but Flowerhead was on the far side, and I thought ran a huge race. True Love won on the near side, and obviously we saw how dominant Aidan O'Brien was with all his juveniles, especially at Royal Ascot. As a general, he's dominated with his juveniles, but especially at the Royal Ascot meeting. And I thought she ran a great race. We haven't seen her since. Previous to that, she'd run a massive race, albeit at Chepstow in a maiden. I think she put in some really impressive time on the clock that day when she won cosily on just her second start. So I'm hoping she'll carry on progressing for a very young trainer. So yeah, Flowerhead, who's in the 140, the Princess Margaret Stakes, which looks a really exciting race. She'll be taking on Stayer for George Scott, who's also done very well in her career. But I just thought Flowerhead, if she's even of an each way price, she's definitely got to have a chance back at Ascot.
Yeah, 8-1 at the time of recording with Bet365 for the Princess Margaret Stakes. That is Flowerhead. My best bet is going to be in the big one, the King George, and it's Calandagan. It's all the recent,
tell us why.
It's all the recent trends: age, rating, distance.
It didn't beat Jan Bruegel though. This is the problem.
Comes here off the back of a Group 1 success last time. Has better Ascot form.
Tell me why he reversed the form.
Ascot. His win at Royal Ascot last year in the King Edward was
amazing.
Brilliant. I thought he was unlucky to finish second to Anmat in the Champion Stakes. Didn't get the clearest of runs. Was kind of mugged late on. I thought if you were going to run that over a further distance, you'd had time to get back. Would have got confidence from winning last time because he was on a bit of a string of finishing runner-up. And yeah, I thought 7-4. I thought the market would favour Calandagan over Jan Bruegel, to be honest. I thought you could definitely make the case that he'd reverse the form. So
I tend to agree for what it's worth.
yeah, I thought a more conventional track, if you're coming over from generally running in France at York, at Ascot, and you then go to Epsom, it's like,
what
wow.
is this?
Yeah, like definitely. I thought the return to Ascot would definitely suit him, and I thought 7-4 was perfectly fair.
It's bet or no bet. That's a race to savour. It really is. Yes, a race where you absolutely don't need to have a bet.
No,
but if you do,
but I will
back my nap.
Perfect. Thank you very much for joining us on this week's episode of Racing Weekly, brought to you by oddschecker in association with Bet365. Many thanks once again to both Hayley and Johnny for joining me on the show. Rish will be back next week, and I'll be in the company of Rachel Casey to look ahead to the Goodwood Festival, where we're recording a day earlier on Monday in order to take in the Tuesday action from Goodwood. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.